Good evening, Somerville. Henry Oliveras, a.k.a. Q Unlimited, here tonight. And tonight's subject matter is mastery of the internal arts. I have with me, to my left, Larry Bressler, who will be assisting me. Larry's been working with me for the better part of 10 years. And I'm going to ask Larry to tell us a little bit about his background and how he came under my care, so to speak.
I've been studying Tai Chi, and Tai Chi is one of the Chinese martial arts. Henry may speak about the other ones as well tonight, but I had been studying Tai Chi for about 20 years before I met Henry. I originally started in St. Louis with another group. And I actually met a guy at a place I was working who was practicing with Henry. I had never heard of him. And
never heard of the guy or me?
I had never heard of you. His name was Matt, as you recall.
I remember Matt.
And Matt told me about you, and I knew at that time that I wanted to improve my martial arts abilities because they really weren't very good. I had mostly done Tai Chi for health, and so I joined Matt at Henry's classes.
But you had previous martial arts experience,
I
right?
had some. Well, a long time ago.
What was that?
Before. Well, I did some Korean styles, Tang Soo Do and Taekwondo, which has a lot of kicking. Mm-hmm. That's not very good for an older person.
It's not very good for a younger person either.
That's true, because you can hurt yourself.
You can.
Anyway, but most of my martial arts career was in studying Tai Chi. And so I really wanted to improve my Tai Chi martial arts abilities. And that's how I found Henry, and I've been with him, with you ever since.
Mm-hmm. And what were you doing previously? I mean, I know you, before you were coming to the Charles River School of Shiatsu, now closed, by the way. What were you doing to keep your practice going?
I was practicing on my own, and I was going out to California every year to visit my teacher and my other classmates. And also I was going once a week to an open push hands group. Push hands is the martial arts aspect of Tai Chi, or one of the martial arts aspects. And I was going once a week. But there was a lot of force and more like wrestling rather than techniques. I knew I needed help with my techniques.
So, tell me a little bit more about, the place you were going to. You said that it was more like wrestling. I know what you mean, but I'm trying to make it clearer for the audience.
Tai Chi is an internal martial art.
What does that mean? Now that you've been with me for a little while, what does that mean to you?
Internal martial art means you use there are a number of aspects. A lot of it is body mechanics, using your body mechanics correctly to throw your opponent or to evade your opponent, and then push him back. So there are other martial arts that do similar things, like maybe Aikido is a little bit like that. But it's not forceful. Like karate is very forceful when they practice a lot of hard punches. A lot of that comes from your upper body. Tai Chi, a lot of it comes from your whole body. Use your whole body because the whole body is much stronger than just an arm. And that's part of the internal martial arts system.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about form and the purpose of forms. And one of the things Bruce Lee was famous for saying was that the fancy mess of martial arts and forms were useless. But you have to remember that even Bruce Lee himself practiced forms for decades. So, and he was a young man and rather arrogant. He died at 30. But the truth of it is, the importance of forms is mostly for health and to learn structure, to improve structure. Given that your teacher understands that and leads you down the right path, your structure will improve, and you can use less muscle and more structure. When we talk about structure, I'm talking about architecture. There are clearly strong angles in the body and weak angles in the body that you want to stay away from. Pardon me. So let's talk about kicking a little bit, because you did mention it. There was a lot of kicking in the other thing. So I want to talk about kicking in realistic martial arts, and The movies have really turned kicking into this, kind of like majestic sort of, or really impressive thing. And it is. It's very important to be able to kick high and to be flexible. However, to actually kick in a fight, whether it's with a person or a civilian, as I call them, or with a seasoned martial artist, kicking above the knee is really not intelligent. An experienced person is watching your steps. They're going to pace your steps. They might match your steps. And every time you lift your foot, you're on one leg. And the higher you lift that foot, the longer you're on one leg. So that, really, kicking really should be kept to the shins and the knee and to the points inside of the leg. Also, you really, when we talk about attacking with the legs or attacking the legs, you're attacking with the feet, with the knees mostly, and the hands are kept, pretty much at the upper body. Another thing I'd like to talk about, and this is something that we discussed recently, is that it doesn't matter how good a martial artist you are, you're always going to be open. There's always going to be an opening. Now, a seasoned martial artist understands this, and they will create the opening rather than not know where it is and guess it and have it, exposed by their partner or their opponent. They will create or manipulate the opening so that you are led into it and then change the atmosphere to take advantage of the positioning. I think Larry and I have worked with that quite a bit, and it's a very effective technique. A lot of slipping or pulling forward. Another thing I'd like to talk about is in Tai Chi they have 8 different energies, and one of them is pull. Now, all 8 of these positions are energies, and people tend to think that they have something to do with the hands. They really don't. You can actually pull with your body if the person gives you enough friction. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit in this segment, and we'll try to describe it and walk you through it a little bit. There will be no throwing, no big kicking, nobody's being taken down. One of Larry's Tai Chi brothers, or one of my students, used to call me a martial arts scientist, and I think that if there's any significant difference between the way I train the people that work with me, I think that's really the major difference is that it's not about winning or losing or struggling. It really is about finding those spaces, and they're very, very small, and getting used to them and trying different positions with your body to not just understand the weak positions in your architecture for yourself, but if you understand your own architecture and the weakness in that, you'll see it in other people. Now, once you understand architecture and you're able to manipulate it a little bit, the size of the person doesn't really matter too much. And in fact, whenever you get into a struggle, a combat, oftentimes, especially even with some seasoned peeps, some seasoned players, it turns into a wrestling match where they're right on top of each other. And the systems that I prefer all are about in-close fighting. So you'll find people that will fight from a distance. Now, the lovely thing about the internal arts is it gives you the tools to deal with that. So there's a thing you call pluck, where you pluck things out of the air. Pardon me. And so when you have somebody that's rabbit punching, you learn to catch, you learn to adhere, and then you learn to follow it in. Of course, people have 4 limbs, so at some point you need your body and your mind will start to break up into 4 different pieces, so that you can work with that with the knowledge that if you're addressing this, there's 3 other things that might come at you. And Larry and I have been working with that quite extensively lately, right?
Yes.
Yes. So let's look at architecture. Let's do a little work, shall we? All right. I think we have enough room here for everything. So, usually when there's a confrontation, and it's already in an advanced stage. Somebody, and I'm not going to do anything sudden, there'll be nothing, everything will be very clear. You know, people will come up and they'll do this to each other, and then somebody will swing from the moon. That's one scenario. The other one is someone will swing from the moon here, or they will be far away from each other. And the absolute wrong thing to do is get into a fighting stance, because now you've telegraphed what your next step is going to be. Now, Larry will tell you that my fighting stance is how we're standing right now. I can't tell where his weight is, I can't tell what the next step is going to be, and he can move very quickly if he needs to and rush me. So if I were to come up, he would simply come in very, very quickly, and I'm already stopped. Now, you can't really see the angle he's on, but he's got a perfect angle, and I am already, go ahead, finish that, falling off balance. I'm coming off. Okay? So, if your opponent takes a step, and most people really, when they punch, they walk into it. So, what we're looking at, if my partner here were to throw a punch and step into it, I'm going to get out. I'm going to step off this way, and I'm going to follow this, or have him, or have him. Now you see how he's already. I'm rubbing him. This is a pull. Now he's not giving me any pressure. He's smart enough to know not to do that. But if he gave me pressure, I could actually start to pull him off. Now he's going the other way, so I'm going to follow his movement. Now we're going to stay here for a moment. So let's take that step again, Larry, please. And you see, I'm angling off. I'm not forcing him. I'm not banging him or knocking him or striking him. Certainly you can do that, but if you're going to do something like that, you want to do it on the inside, in here where all the tendons are, or right up in here where it's going to shock the system for a second, so that it incapacitates the arm. I'm not going to go into pressure points. That's a very dangerous and touchy subject. I won't even touch that until somebody's been with me, as long as Larry has. So, if Larry were to come in, I can come up and come this way and extend that out. Now I've got a nice slice in, and I've got to watch this hand. So, let's take it from the outside one more time, very slowly. And again, notice I am not forcing him. I'm not pushing this away. I am using my hand as a sensing device. So when it comes in, I'm getting out of the way. I'm not getting him out of the way. Now, once again, Larry's been with me for a while, so he's not going to compromise his position. He's in a very good place here. He's stable. Yeah, he's pretty stable. I would have to actually angle off this way to get him to move. Now, one of the things here is that we don't want to invest too much. Larry's going to take this shot again for me, and here's my first strike. Nice and easy. He's going to come in with a second one. Most people will come on in. Whoop. No, most people turn around to hit, don't they?
They might.
So let's try that one more time.
They might.
He comes in. I'm going to get out of the way. The next one's coming and off, and I want to keep moving to the back. You know, to the back. I want to get away from his center point, or away from where he can be strong. So when he comes in, I'm going to step away into this direction. Now I've got a nice clear shot. I'm in a safe position. Now to open the body, please, I would come into here. However, as you can see, now I've got more problems. On the other hand, it's not going to take very much to move him from this position. But I still got to watch that leg. So if we want to bring the camera a little low, if Larry were to try to kick, I'm going to walk into this. Try it with the back leg, because most people would come in with that back leg. So I'm just going to slide right in with him. Okay, nice and easy. If it comes with that front, if he does come with that front leg, I'm going to knock it. Okay, this big bone onto these small bones is very, very uncomfortable. All right, so looking at the angle, if he comes in with this, we want to take him towards the center place here, where he's going to be and he's smart enough to move with that. But most people will fall over. So why don't you give me a little resistance? Oh, now he's going the other way. All right, so we have this nice angle. We can take him in different places. It's not going to take that much to move him. Right, that's what we're looking for, is to make this as easy as possible for you. Of course, once he's off balance, you can take your shot. You know, one of the really nice things about the internal martial arts is that you want to tag things as they're going by you. I don't want to have a confrontation with him. I don't want him to be able to fight. As he comes in, I'm going to go ahead and take my shot and keep going. Now, once he steps for this next one and I get this first shot in, he's going to turn. He's going to want to come at me, so I'm going to step. Or, boom, he comes in with the next one, and as he's coming in with this hand, I'm going to walk around. Right, so we've got some nice things we can do. It really does turn into a dance. Once again, Larry, boom, and once he comes around with this one, I can walk on in and strike from here. So again, you want to keep, you want to keep yourself in a safe place is really important. All right, so we've explored this angle a little bit. We're going to look at it one more time. Just step forward with that stance for me, and notice how small his footing is. See, he's really, really safe here. He can really, if he needs to get out of this, he can easily, see how easy he can step into this? If I pull him, if I try to knock him, he can step away. You see, a nice little cross step there. Now let's talk about this cross step, because it's kind of a big moment for Larry. In Tai Chi, pardon me, if you come down to my legs, they have something they call wave hands like clouds, or cloud hands. It's got a bunch of different names. And in some styles of Tai Chi, it's all a side step, like so. If you want, could you bring it down to my feet? It's all a side step. However, in Chen style Tai Chi, we have these cross steps. All right, now let's talk about these for a second, because they're important. Most people, when they practice Tai Chi, in particular Tai Chi, there are other systems, but we're going to focus on Tai Chi today. When they practice wave hands like clouds, a lot of people don't realize that this is the way to advance on a person. It's not strike. It's not me running away from Larry. It's me changing the angle, and now I've got my angle. Now let's look at the cross step, please. My cross step is going to take me, it's going to make it very, very big. I'm going to be able to really swipe with this. So one more time. Boom, there's my cross. Once he comes in with the next in, boom, I've got my next one. So that cross step is really, really interesting. Would you step forward with that one foot? Again, if I'm here, very easy to take them off. It doesn't take much pressure. Once again, in the same place, please. Very easy to take them off. Doesn't take much pressure. Right, really, really nice. I've got a lot of leg attacks from here that I can do. It's just a nice place to be. Either here, this is the safest place behind him. This is a little bit more compromised. But if you got a good position, and you're going to see, I'm really not going to put much pressure on this. If he pushes against me, he's going to walk. You can. Oh, it's too much. It gives me a little pressure. Boom, he bounces off. Now, I'm not doing anything but keeping my hands in place. He's doing the work for me. All I'm doing is turning to find a good angle. And it feels like a lot of pressure to the person you're doing it to. And in fact, Larry sometimes goes to St. Louis. St. Louis. And would you tell them what the people are saying about your push hands?
Well, they're finding it a little too forceful. But that's because when they practice, they collapse a little too much. It's not really forceful.
No.
It's just constant.
It feels forceful when you're having it done to you, but when you're applying it, it only feels like a few ounces to you.
That's right.
Right, because the body's in the right place. It's got a nice strong angle. It's got enough buoyancy to it to allow people to bounce off of you. All right, so we've looked at that a little bit, this first step. Now, Sometimes you get somebody that's going to cross you. They're going to cross their body. This is absolutely the worst thing you could do. You've totally compromised yourself at this point, because now you're crossed up. And once you're caught in that position, it doesn't take much to get you going. As a matter of fact, once again, if you give enough pressure, you will find yourself flying across the room, or maybe not flying across the room, but at least stumbling back. So if we look at that cross punch, if you step forward with this foot and come in with that hand, here's a nice little, and look how easy that is. It didn't take much. One more time. Would you bring the camera up for me, please? Thank you. All right, so look at this. And I'm just going to keep it right here. I'm going to use 2 fingers. Oh, he changed his angle. If you watch him, he just moves his body just a little bit. So now I've got to find a new angle. And you see my fingers aren't really bending too much. Nice and easy. 2 fingers. So, thank you. So, when you hear these stories about Tai Chi masters or Bagua masters, you know, sending people a number of feet away or lifting them off the ground, this is how they do it. You're already off balance, or your momentum is already giving you away. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, let's go again with that cross step for me. So here's that nice little cross step. And you see, all I did was come over a little bit. This is going to make it really hard for him to get that next punch out. So go ahead. And you can see that I'm going to cross it up. Now you're saying, well, what if he brings it up above? All right, well, I've still got a nice thing, and I've still got this in touch. I've still got this, you know. And again, you see, I'm not giving him anything. Not a lot of pressure here. I'm not trying to get in. And you see, if I do, he's going to give me some resistance. If I continue this, he's going to turn, and I'm gone. And you see, he's not struggling at all. There's no struggle here. It really is, he's got a nice, a little bit compromise here. And if I give him here, he's going to give me there. And you see, he's not really doing much, but I'm already going. Because he's got a nice angle. What we're looking for, let's go down to the legs for a moment, is, turn for me, Larry.
Sure.
All right, so you've got 2 legs. Excuse me. All right, you only have 2 legs. Please go into a stance. So, the best way to off-balance somebody is where there are no legs, right? There's no leg here. There's no leg there. And those are the 2 places you want to kind of direct your things to. All right, let's look at that cross step one more time. So nope, he can stay there. So we're in here. As soon as this happens, if he gives me pressure, see how he goes. Now bring that camera up for me so people can see. He's going to give me pressure. I'm just holding it in place. I'm just going to hold it in place. That's all I'm going to do. So you want to, thank you. So you want to, when you're practicing martial arts, or at least in internal systems, shall we sit?
Sure.
And when people come to study with me, this is what we're looking for. We're looking to become comfortable with that. And this is something you can't do fast. This takes years and time and error over error over error until your body understands where those spaces are. Now, Larry kept a very small stance, but let's go ahead and look at these big stances. All right, so we've got these guys that go, and you can see Larry's already laughing at it. It's just that ridiculous. So, let's say that you come across somebody that is going to go into a big stance. So go ahead and you're going to step back into a big stance for a ready stance. I already know what leg is going to come forward. Okay, I know this leg may kick. I know he may step in with this. He may shimmy forward, but a lot of people don't do that. So let's look at the shimmy forward. So if he shimmies forward, I'm going to, one more time. This is called stealing a step. As he comes in, I'm going to catch him before he gets on that. Boom. Just before, as soon as that foot comes up, boom, I'm going to catch it. Okay? So this is, again, what I said before. If that were a kick, it would be a much messier thing to do. But even before it gets into a kick, the moment he starts to take that step, I'm going to stop him. So take that step, boom, stop him. That's your striking point. At the middle of that step. Come on in. Boop. And there's my strike. It's called stealing a step. All right, a bigger stance. I've trained you so well, you won't do a big stance. A nice big stance.
Okay.
All right, so I can already tell where he's going to go. That now he's going to take a heck of a long time to come at me. So go ahead and take that step, and there I am. So that's stealing a step. This is the impracticality of big stances. Now let's look at a kick. If Larry goes to kick, what's stopping me from just walking away from it? Right? Why would I even bother with it? I won't even bother catching it. As soon as that kick comes, I'm going to step away. Right? The kick comes, I'm not only going to step away, but I'm actually going to step into him. and let his momentum. I don't really. I'm not one that enjoys hitting people. I think it's much more advantageous if a person walks into things, because now they can't say that you hit them. Now they have to own the fact that they walked into it. So it takes that whole edge of, oh, you did this. Now it turns it into, well, I did this and I should have been a nicer person. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what have we looked at? We've looked at, let's look at architecture a bit more. So if you go ahead and give me that nice wide stance, and let's look at this. Look at how much easier it is, and I'm going to use 2 fingers. Wish we could get a better. So why don't you give me the other foot so the audience can see better? And so I'm just going to take 2 fingers, and this is even easier to find than before. He's going to back up, but it's easier to find than before for me. And if I press and I feel him coming forward, I'm going to. So there's this whole thing called weighing, where you're looking to see how much pressure it's going to take to do the job. Now, when I feel him lean into me, I'm not going to fight that. I'm going to help him along with that. And as I help him along, there goes my strike. All right, so we've got these big stances, not a smart thing to do. We looked at architecture. Once again, the 2 legs, the space you want to be in is here. Let's look at the arms now. One of the things that I find a lot of people do, and I see people, I'm not even going to mention, but I've seen masters that are very, very well known, even world known, make this mistake, shall we call it? When punching, they bring their arm back, or they bring their arm up here. Now, even if I get this off, it's not going to really have the effect that I want it to, unless I get a perfect hit. And that's almost impossible when things are fluid. So, just to make my point, I'm going to step forward. I'm going to have Larry just get into a nice, a nice balanced state, and I'm going to try to bring my arm out from here. And I can't do it. I can't get my arm out. In order for me to make this work, I've got to get my body behind it. And now I can make it work with nothing. The arm is almost locked, and I'm just going to lean into it. Just a nice little lean. Now, a strike like this is devastating because it's like being hit with a jackhammer. It's all body. However, a strike like this is going to lose all its power, and all he needs to do is stop it at a good place. And that's fine. Now, if I were very tall, he would have to go to here. And look. Right? If I punch and I'm in this wide stance and Larry stops my punch, I'm going to fall over. I'm going to be knocked off balance. So that's one of the things you really don't want to do. Let's talk about slipping, because you hear the term slipping in boxing a lot. When you talk about slipping, when a strike comes, and comes slowly, please, they talk about angling off. That's